Here are the best ways to consistently get coaching, consulting, and other B2B clients. Anyone who is overly reliant on referrals needs to actually stop and listen to this. And the reason why is because if you don't actually have a lead generation system that predictably gets you pipeline calls in the door, then it's gonna be really hard to actually grow your business consistently, predictably. And it's just not fun when you enter a month or enter a quarter having essentially no idea how many clients you're gonna be getting. The beautiful thing about having a system is that if you know that you could put essentially $1 in or a certain amount of time in, and from that input, you're always going to be getting a somewhat predictable amount of output in regards to clients won, in regards to calls being generated, then it's much easier for you to then invest more time and money into your business and for it to just continue to multiply. So let me actually go through a couple options that will allow you to have a system that doesn't rely on just dumb luck such as referrals. All right, so the first system is essentially just cold outreach. And everyone knows what this is, right? You build a list of prospects on LinkedIn or email or whatever social media platform you want to reach out to, and then you pretty much just send out messages every single day at a high enough volume that hopefully some people will respond back and book a call with you. Now, there are a couple of benefits of this. And the first I would say is that it's very affordable. Anyone can do this because the entry costs are so low. And at this point, there are so many softwares out there, whether it be for LinkedIn or email, that allow you to send out a lot of messages, that even doing it at a relatively high volume is not very difficult. Now, if you do want to improve your conversion rates by having a higher level of personalization in your messages, for example, being able to say, hey, I went to your website and I noticed this thing about you, or I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you're really interested in this. Certainly, you can even hire virtual assistants or appointment setters to go and make those adjustments in the copy so that the conversion rate is a little bit higher. And using VAs or setters will allow you to personalize even without disrupting your own time and your workflow. And the nice thing is, if you crack the code on how to do outreach, then you can actually remove yourself entirely from the process, because the process can more or less run entirely on just having appointment setters, VAs, and softwares without you needing to personally intervene, which makes this a relatively scalable system if it works. But that's a big if, and that actually moves quite well into the downsides, because the cons of the system is that it's really hard to actually make it work today. I mean, as I'm recording this, it's about to be the year 2024, and these days, so many people send out so many bad, spammy, annoying cold outreach messages that, frankly, the audience is just really sick and tired of getting these messages, so they just don't respond anymore. And that makes it really difficult, because at the end of the day, we don't care about just sending out a bunch of messages. We actually want to be booking calls. But if it takes us 1,000 messages just to get one positive reply because people are, for the most part, sick of our messages, then what are we really doing here? Just beating our head against the wall? So due to the lack of trust, due to the high amount of skepticism, the biggest hurdle that you'll have with this method is just people even responding positively. That being said, there are some other issues. One of them is that it really requires on you knowing how to build good lists. No matter how good your messaging is, if you don't actually have the right prospects to reach out to, then you will fail. Copywriting is also going to be really important. There's a lot of people that just reach out using really mediocre copy that isn't compelling, which feels quite spammy. In fact, I would say that these people are to blame as to why outreach doesn't work for anyone, because if 90% of the people are sending out really annoying, spammy, poor copy messages, then it's going to ruin it for everyone else who's actually putting in the effort to create really good and outstanding messages. And finally, I would say that there is still a bit of a scalability problem, because even if you're using automation softwares, the fact is LinkedIn has limits as to how many messages that you can send per account. And so does email. So the only way that you can really send out a high volume of messages is if you have like 10 LinkedIn accounts sending, 20 email accounts sending at the same time. It just over time becomes very, very difficult to manage. All right, now moving on to the next option, you have content. And the pros are obvious, right? You actually build trust. Unlike outreach, where people don't really know who you are, with content, you're trying to build credibility. You're trying to show people that you're an expert. And this means it's going to be significantly easier for someone to want to book a call with you because they actually think that you can solve their problems. And of course, once they're on the call with you, they're much easier to close because they already have a bit of a relationship with you. As well, content doesn't necessarily have to be very expensive, because if you're willing to take the time to create the content yourself, then it's just a matter of you being willing to spend that time, right? But that leads pretty well into the cons, which is if you're trying to create the content yourself, it can definitely be quite time consuming. But if you decide to actually hire a team to take the content creation off your plate, that does become quite expensive, and a content team doesn't necessarily capture the same authenticity or the same expertise that you might be able to deploy yourself. Because theoretically, if it's your business, your content should feel more authentic compared to you just giving it to an agency or giving it to some random employee that you hired. There's also the issue that you might not necessarily know how to make good content, right? Not everyone knows how to write or feel natural on camera. So that learning curve might take a little bit of time. And finally, because of the fact that organic content typically takes a long time to build the audience, to even get the amount of eyeballs that you need, a lot of people will actually just give up before their content is able to generate great results. Whether it be from my LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, it's taken months before that content was actually able to be seen by enough people that it was generating real business results for me. So you have to be patient and play the long game. All right, so the final method that I want to share about is paid ads. And the great thing about paid ads is that you can get results really fast. And this is because you can get in front of 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 1,000,000 people pretty much within the next week or two, as long as you're willing to spend the money on it, right? But this is really powerful because unlike sending out cold emails or LinkedIn messages or sharing content organically, those two channels just simply will not be able to get enough coverage of enough eyeballs to compare to paid ads. So the vast majority of people that I know that actually have been able to scale their businesses quickly, it's because they're willing to just spend money on this paid traffic. As well, with paid media, you're able to precisely target your perfect audience because the channels that you're running paid media on have really, really great targeting. For example, with LinkedIn ads, you can just go after someone specifically on their geography, their gender, their job title, their industry, how big their company is. So for B2B, that's really amazing. And just like with organic content being able to build trust, with paid ads, you can deliver videos, you can deliver valuable content straight to the feeds of your ideal prospects, and that way you can actually build trust and credibility that way, but once again at a much higher volume than just utilizing organic content. So this is really, really impactful. Now, there are cons as well, and the biggest cons are that you got to spend a lot of money. And that means if you're just starting out and you don't have the capital, this is probably just not a viable solution for you at all. You also need to be very disciplined because with paid ads, it takes time before you're able to solve the puzzle, before your ads are actually profitable. So you need to have the patience to be willing to spend. You need to have the emotional stability to not freak out when you see that you're $1,000 or $2,000 in the hole without having made any money yet, and not prematurely just canceling or closing down your paid ads because you're scared of the lack of results. You might be literally just a couple days or a week away from getting to profitability, but you're not gonna be able to achieve that if you just give up because you're afraid. So once again, you have cold outreach, you have content, and you have paid ads. I would say if you're relatively new, cold outreach makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't scale. Content you should always be doing no matter what. Organic content is something that I would recommend anyone to do. You just need a little bit of patience. But paid ads, I would say, is the most important leverage point that you can deploy if you've already built a validated business. Anyone who's running a B2B organization and you're already running 5 figures a month in profit, there's no reason why you shouldn't be trying to deploy paid ads. So if you like this content, please follow me so that you can consume more of my content. I'm gonna be cranking out stuff hopefully every single week, and DM me on social media if this was valuable, all right? So cheers.